Chapter 3. The Queen's Lament. The early morning mist clung to the walls of the Queen's citadel like a somber shroud, wrapping itself around the grand architecture, masking the beautiful details that spoke of a proud past. Kazuma Ito stood at the balcony, looking out over the ravaged landscape of Ragnafell, trying to find solace in the serene beauty of a new day dawning, but the blood-stained memories of countless lives lost weighed heavily on his heart. Kazuma. The soft voice of Queen Lyria broke the silence, pulling him from his thoughts. He turned, allowing himself to be swept by her ethereal presence as she stepped onto the balcony, her silver hair cascading like a waterfall of moonlight against the backdrop of dawn. There's much to discuss. The warmth in her violet eyes offered an anchor amidst the turmoil. Kazuma nodded, gesturing toward the table where maps lay spread out, detailing the fragmented alliances and strategies swirling in the chaos of war. "I believe I'm ready," he replied solemnly. "We need to gather the factions and prepare for the fight against the darkness that lurks beyond our walls." Lyria's gaze fell upon the maps, and a shadow darkened her face. She took a step closer, bracing herself against the table. Finding allies is vital, but it will not be easy. Trust has eroded as swiftly as the fallen kingdoms, and the people grow weary. They have seen too many heroes rise, only to fall in the grasp of despair. Kazuma crossed his arms, gritting his teeth. He had experienced that despair again and again, and he refused to let that cycle continue. Then we must give them a reason to hope. He took a deep breath, trying to calm the storm within him. Every battle fought, every name lost, has led us to this moment. If we unite, we can stop whatever darkness is pulling our strings. "Your tenacity is admirable," Lyria replied, her voice less certain now, "but I fear it may not be enough. This darkness is born from deep-seated hatred among the factions. We must tread carefully, for emotions run high, and anger can easily shape alliances into conflicts." For a fleeting moment, Kazuma felt the weight of her worries mingle with his own. He could sense the burden she carried, each decision reverberating through the lives of her people, shaping their destinies. "We'll build a foundation of trust through dialogue and shared goals," he proposed. "I'll speak with Lord Garrick and the Northmen. They were once strong allies of Eldoria. We must remind them of what we can achieve together." A sigh escaped Lyria, a sound of heavy resignation mixed with lingering hope. "And what of Valter's forces? They are driven by division, hatred with each blow exchanged on the battlefield. How do you unify them with what remains of honor?" Kazuma clenched his fists. "With truth, I will share my story, my power, and the implications of our war. Perhaps the looming threat of darkness can draw together those who remain stubbornly opposed." "Your willingness to bare your heart is noble," Lyria said quietly, her eyes softening. "But I cannot dismiss the chance that exposing your curse could lead to betrayal. Many have sought to exploit powers beyond their grasp." He stepped closer to her, a fire igniting in his green gaze. "But you have seen what I can endure. We can take down that darkness together. If I can face the shadows of my own life, then I can show them there's an alternative." Lyria turned away from him, her posture tense. Kazuma could see the turmoil brewing behind her Lyria's violet eyes glistened, the fierce queen momentarily flickering to reveal a woman all too human, and that vulnerability struck him like an arrow. "I long for peace, Kazuma, but I fear that my anguish may cost us everything. How can I lead when I feel so lost? Together, we can find that path." Kazuma reached for her hand, offering warmth and solace, grounding both his hope and determination. "Let us confront the darkness together. Let your pain be a bridge instead of a wall." Lyria hesitated, and he could see her resolve wavering as she processed his words. Slowly, she entwined her fingers with his, drawing strength from the connection. "Together," she murmured, a quiet agreement between them. "Let's call a gathering," Kazuma suggested, emboldened by their connection. "We'll summon the leaders of the factions to the citadel. If I can present myself openly and plead to their better natures, perhaps we can kindle the flicker of hope back to life." "Yes," Lyria breathed, her voice steadying once more as they stepped away from the balcony. "We'll ring the bell, and the factions will hear our call. It's time to gather our strength and prepare for the confrontation." The two returned to the warmed ambiance of the chamber, and Kazuma felt a renewed determination swell within him. Preparations commenced as they rallied the warriors and strategists, forging their coalition against the encroaching shadows. Word was sent swiftly, the sharp peals of the citadel's bell resounding across the valley, slicing the sterile air, echoing out to the waiting factions that clung to the unpredictability of their destinies. Knights clad in regal armor and warriors who had weathered years of battle began to assemble, one by one, until the throne room filled with representatives of a splintered world. As they gathered, Kazuma's resolve solidified within him. Sir Garrick was among the first to arrive, striding forward with authority. "You've summoned us, Kazuma Ito," he declared, determination dawning upon his brow. "What urgent matter compels us?" "A call for unity," Kazuma replied, his voice steady and strong as he addressed the assembly. "We have fought battles, shed blood, and lost allies, but I stand before you now, a living embodiment of every shared loss. There is a darkness that threatens not just our factions, but the very future of Ragnafell. To survive, we must fight together." A ripple of murmurs swept through the room, skepticism mingling with the glimmer of hope. Valter's emissary, a tall man adorned in dark attire, crossed his arms, eyes narrowed. "And what do you propose, Kazuma? What makes you think we can trust someone who has danced so closely with death?" "Trust is built on shared goals," Lyria interjected smoothly, stepping beside Kazuma, her regal stature commanding attention. "What we face threatens everyone, and if we do not act now, we risk losing more than we can imagine. I lost friends to this senseless fighting. I refuse to let their legacy fade in vain. Can we put aside our pride long enough to recognize the truth?" Kazuma pressed. "I have been summoned to fight this curse that binds us, and I will share my story with you all, as vulnerable as it may be. But you must listen, for it ties us together." His determination shimmered through the air, wrapping around the assembly as he recounted his tale, each rebirth a thread weaving through their shared struggles, revealing glimpses of pain, loss, and resilience. The weight of his woe, empathy blossomed around the assembly, the dark cloud of skepticism parting, revealing a flicker of unity. As murmurs of reluctant agreement began to rise, Kazuma felt the intricate web of hope starting to bind them, a fragile yet undeniable connection. "In the wake of darkness, we will illuminate the path to coexistence," he stated, his heart pounding as he looked into weary faces. "Let us confront this evil united, harnessing our strengths not as factions, but as a singular force for Ragnafell." The atmosphere shifted, the horizon of a new dawn glimmering beyond their fears. Kazuma and Lyria stood at the helm, conduits channeling the loyalty of their people, each moment sewn into the fabric of hope rather than despair. As the final agreement was reached, resonating through the heavy air, Kazuma felt a strange warmth blossom within him, a glimmer of faith flickering to life under the weight of seemingly insurmountable odds. But he was determined that together they would endure. They would champion the promise of a different tomorrow. And standing at the nexus of their shared resolve, Kazuma Ito took his first step into the unknown, a shared journey alongside the queen he now cherished, blessed to fight for a world reborn in challenge and triumph. He felt Lyria's hand squeeze his, a shared promise blooming within their grasp. The citadel stood stoically behind them, its ancient walls witnessing a flicker of hope, the kind that could bloom even amidst a world ravaged by war. As the sun finally broke through the horizon, casting golden rays across the assembled crowd, Kazuma knew they were just embarking on their journey, one that would forever alter the fate of Ragnafell. It was not merely a battle against darkness, but the forging of a bond that would stand resilient against the trials that lay ahead. Together, they would shape their destiny anew, a collective heart beating fervently against the shadows.